I was sitting in the doctor's waiting room when my phone rang. It was my only daughter, Lauren. Her voice sounded flat, almost cold. "Mom, we're going to Europe tomorrow. I sold your beach house and your truck. We needed the money. Bye." And just like that, she hung up. 45 years of raising her, of sacrifice, and she discarded me with a 2-minute call. But instead of crying, I felt a strange calm, because Lauren didn't know everything. My name is Agnes Ford. I'm 71 years old, a recent widow, and the woman my daughter thought she outsmarted. 6 months ago, my husband, Thomas, died suddenly over breakfast. He kissed my forehead, said "Good morning, my love," and then he was gone. Lauren had been by my side since, visiting often, smiling sweetly as she urged me to take care of myself. I thought it was love, but it was convenience. That day, sitting in the clinic, I remembered something Thomas gave me just before he died, a sealed envelope, still waiting in my dresser drawer. When I returned home from the doctor, I went straight to the bedroom. In the bottom drawer of my dresser lay the manila envelope Thomas had pressed into my hands 3 days before his heart attack. "Open this when you're ready," he had said. Grief had pushed it from my mind until now. My hands trembled as I slid it open. Inside were neatly stacked papers, property deeds, bank statements, and a handwritten letter from Thomas. His familiar script blurred as tears filled my eyes. "My dearest Agnes," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. Forgive me for keeping secrets. I invested our savings quietly over the years in homes, businesses, stocks. We don't just have the beach house. We own more. I wanted you to be safe, but not burdened with worry. And I feared Lauren would see us differently if she knew. You are now the sole owner of everything." I stared at the document, 6 properties, investments, accounts with numbers I had never imagined. My husband, a simple bus driver, had turned pennies into a fortune. Lauren thought she left me with nothing. She couldn't have been more wrong. I sat at the kitchen table. Thomas's letter spread before me. He had owned apartment buildings, a downtown condo, even shares in companies I'd never heard of. Every penny we had saved through decades of sacrifice, he had multiplied it silently. And now it was all in my name. The irony cut deep. My daughter had sold the beach house for a quick payout, treating it as just cash. She never knew it was only one piece of a much larger fortune. She had also sold Thomas's beloved pickup, the truck he washed every Sunday, and kept spotless under the oak tree. That truck still carried his scent. She knew what it meant to me and sold it anyway. The phone rang the next morning. It was Lauren again, her tone syrupy. "Mom, we deposited your share from the house and truck. It's not much, but 30% should help you until you find something smaller." 30% of my own belongings, I see, I replied evenly. She sighed in relief. "We leave this afternoon. Edward's business opportunity in Europe is incredible. Don't worry, Mom. When we return, we'll help you find an apartment that fits your needs." When she hung up, I laughed out loud. My daughter thought she'd discarded me. She had no idea I was holding all the cards. From my window that afternoon, I watched Lauren and Edward haul their glossy suitcases into a cab. They laughed and kissed like teenagers heading off on an adventure. Not once did they glance at my house. Not a wave, not a goodbye. I carried my tea back to the kitchen and looked again at Thomas's papers. The beach house could be reclaimed. Lauren had no right to sell what wasn't legally hers. The truck, too, if I could prove deception. I knew just the man to call, Mr. Peterson, the lawyer who had handled Thomas's modest estate. "Mrs. Ford," he said warmly when I phoned. "How are you?" "I'm well, thank you. I need to see you. I found some documents Thomas left behind." The next morning I sat in his office, a marble-floored building downtown. His eyes widened as he examined the deeds. "Mrs. Ford, this is substantial. Your husband was a very wise man. Everything is in your name. The sale of the beach house was fraudulent. We can reclaim it immediately." "And the truck?" I asked. "That may take more effort, but yes, it's possible." I leaned forward. "I don't want lawsuits or drama, Mr. Peterson. Not yet. I want to handle this quietly. Can you help me?" He nodded. "Of course." Good. My daughter thought I was powerless. She was about to learn otherwise. The days after Lauren left were strangely quiet. Neighbors stopped by with sympathetic smiles, whispering about how sad it was that my daughter had run off. I let them believe it. It suited me for people to think I was the poor, abandoned widow. Aurora, my neighbor of 30 years, came by with a casserole. "Agnes, dear, is it true Lauren went to Europe and left you here all alone?" "Yes," I said softly. "She and Edward have big plans." Aurora shook her head. That girl, you must be heartbroken. How will you manage? I gave her a gentle smile. I'll find a way. Inside, though, I almost laughed. I wasn't helpless, I was planning. Every morning, I walked the neighborhood like always, letting the pitying looks wash over me. Every afternoon I sat at the kitchen table, spreading out Thomas's papers, reviewing each property, each account. Mr. Peterson updated me regularly. The beach house sale was reversed within weeks. The buyers, deceived by Lauren, were refunded. Soon I would have it back. The truck would take longer, but he was optimistic. To the outside world, I looked fragile. In truth, I was quietly regaining control of everything Lauren thought she had stolen, and I intended to keep it that way for now. One bright morning, I took the bus to the coast. It had been years since Thomas and I had driven that familiar road to our beach house. When I arrived, I stood across the street and let the ocean air fill my lungs. The cream-colored cottage looked just the same, though new potted plants lined the porch steps. An older man stepped outside and noticed me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" "I'm fine," I said, just remembering. I knew the family who lived here. He frowned. "We bought it recently, but the sale turned out to be invalid. They told us the elderly owner was too sick to handle things, so the daughter managed it. Sad situation." I smiled faintly. "Yes, very sad." Within days, Mr. Peterson confirmed the beach house was legally mine again. The truck was more complicated. Lauren had tricked me into signing a power of attorney during my grief. With that, she sold it for next to nothing. But Mr. Peterson found the buyer, a kind man willing to return it for a small payment. When I touched the worn steering wheel once more, Thomas's presence felt near. Piece by piece, I was reclaiming what Lauren had tried to erase, and I wasn't finished yet. By the time the beach house and truck were back in my name, Mr. Peterson had completed another task, transferring direct control of the apartment building where Lauren and Edward lived. Technically, I had owned it all along through Thomas's company. Now, my signature alone decided its future. "Mrs. Ford," Mr. Peterson said carefully, "you have full rights to do as you wish with the property, including eviction." I nodded. "Prepare the notice, but don't send it until they return from Europe. I want it waiting for her, hand-delivered." Weeks later, Aurora arrived at my door with gossip hot from the neighborhood. "Agnes, did you hear? Edward's in trouble with the bank. Took out loans against that apartment, but it turns out he never owned it. My brother-in-law at the bank says Lauren might have to come home to deal with the mess." I poured Aurora a cup of tea, hiding my smile. "That does sound complicated." Days later, word came Edward had stayed in Europe, chasing another woman, leaving Lauren stranded. She returned alone, pale and shaken. Within 24 hours of her arrival, the eviction notice was in her hands. My daughter had once pushed me out of my home with a phone call. Now she knew what it felt like. Lauren showed up at my door the next day. She looked nothing like the polished woman who had strutted into that cab weeks earlier. Her clothes were wrinkled, her face drawn, her eyes swollen from crying. For a moment she looked as if she might hug me, but she stopped short, awkward and ashamed. "Mom, I don't know what to do. Edward's gone. The banks are after me, and now this eviction notice, I'll lose everything. Can I stay here, just until I figure something out?" Of course I let her in, but my embrace carried calculation this time, not blind forgiveness. Lauren unpacked into her old childhood room, humiliation written in every movement. She discovered an envelope among Edward's belongings, a letter from Thomas with a key to a safety deposit box. Together we opened it. Inside lay family jewelry worth nearly $200,000. Lauren gasped. "Mom, we could sell this, pay off debts, start over." I studied her face. Even broken, her first thought was still money. "Are you sure you want to spend your father's legacy on Edward's mistakes?" Tears welled in her eyes. "What choice do I have?" And so she began selling heirlooms piece by piece. Watching her trade family history for cash was painful but necessary. She was learning what desperation really cost. Within weeks, most of the jewelry was gone. Lauren kept only my engagement ring and a locket from her grandmother. "These aren't money," she said softly. "They're family." For the first time, I sensed a shift. But the cash barely dented the mountain of debt Edward had left. Desperate, Lauren took a night job cleaning offices downtown. She came home in the early morning, shoes worn, hands raw from chemicals. I had never seen her so tired or so determined. Over dinner one night, She told me about Ruth, a 60-year-old coworker. Ruth said something that stuck with me. There are two kinds of people here: those who never had a chance and those who wasted theirs. Figure out which one you are and change it. Lauren began tracking her expenses, drawing up lists, negotiating with creditors. I'd watch her lean over the kitchen table, pencil in hand, brow furrowed. The woman who once spent money faster than she earned it now counted every dollar. It broke my heart to see her humbled this way, yet I knew it was working. For the first time, Lauren was living with the dignity of effort, not entitlement. And slowly, she was starting to understand what Thomas and I had always known. True wealth isn't in things, it's in character. When the time was right, I told Lauren we had an appointment with a lawyer who might help with her debts. She looked nervous. "Mom, I can't afford legal fees." "Don't worry about that now," I said. At Mr. Peterson's office, she sat stiffly as he handed her a folder. "Miss Ford, we've investigated. These documents prove Edward forged your signature. You are not responsible for his loans." Her eyes widened. "But how? Who paid for this?" I met Mr. Peterson's gaze and nodded. He slid another folder across the desk. Lauren opened it to find property deeds, bank accounts, investment statements, all in my name. She looked at me, stunned. "Mom, you own all of this. You knew?" "Yes," I said calmly. "Since the day you called me from the doctor's office." Her face crumpled. "Why didn't you tell me? Why let me go through all this?" "Because, Lauren, money could erase your debts, but it couldn't teach you responsibility or respect or love. You needed to learn those on your own." Tears filled her eyes, not the desperate tears of fear I'd seen before, but the kind that come when the truth finally sinks in. For the first time in years, she looked at me not as a nuisance or a safety net, but as a woman she respected. It was the beginning of something new. The ride home after the meeting was quiet. Lauren stared out the window, her hands folded in her lap. For once, she had no sharp words, no excuses, only silence. That evening, she spoke at last. "Mom, I'm going to keep the cleaning job." "You don't have to anymore," I reminded her. "Your debts are cleared." She shook her head. "That job is the first thing I've ever done entirely on my own. It's teaching me discipline. I need that." I studied her face. She looked tired, older, but steadier. "Lauren," I said softly, "respect isn't something you buy. It's something you earn first from yourself." She nodded slowly. "Then that's what I want to do. I don't want to be the daughter who takes and takes. I want to stand beside you as an equal." That night, as I washed the dishes, I realized something had shifted. For the first time in decades, my daughter wasn't asking me to save her. She was asking me to walk beside her. And though the path ahead was still uncertain, I felt Thomas's presence near, as if whispering, "It's working. She's learning." In the weeks that followed, a new rhythm settled into our lives. Lauren worked nights, studied during the day, and came home with stories that surprised me. One evening, she set her books on the table. "I've decided to go back to school full-time. Social work. I want to help women who end up where I did, broke, abandoned, and ashamed. If I can climb out, maybe I can show them how." I felt a swell of pride I hadn't known in years. "Your father would have been proud," I said softly. On a quiet Sunday, we visited the beach house together. Lauren paused on the porch, running her hand along the railing Thomas built. "It feels different now, like it's asking to be more than just ours." She turned to me with steady eyes. "Mom, what if we turned this into a safe place for women starting over? A shelter, a refuge?" Tears blurred my vision. Thomas had always said a house wasn't truly a home until its doors were open to those in need. "Yes," I whispered. "Let's do it." That day, the beach house stopped being just a memory of summers past. It became the foundation of something bigger, our way of honoring Thomas, and of proving that even broken families could build something good again. 6 months later, life looked nothing like the day Lauren called to betray me. She still worked nights, saving every dollar, but her eyes were brighter, her steps lighter. She had finished her first semester of classes with top marks and refused my offers to pay her tuition. "I need to do this myself, Mom. Otherwise, I'll fall back into old habits." The beach house had opened its doors to women and children fleeing broken homes. On opening day, Lauren stood beside me, greeting the first family. Her smile was genuine, free of pride, full of purpose. One evening, we sat on the porch watching the tide. Lauren turned to me. "Mom, I finally understand. Love isn't about shielding someone from pain. It's about teaching them what they need to know, even when it hurts." I thought of Thomas, of the secret he left me, of the strength it had taken to hold back when my heart wanted to rush in. I squeezed her hand. Then maybe I did my job right. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not because we had wealth, but because we had rebuilt what mattered most: respect, trust, and love. Lauren leaned against my shoulder like she had as a little girl. We're stronger now, Mom. Both of us. And she was right. Betrayal had broken us, but transformation had bound us tighter than ever. Did you connect with my story? I'm Agnes Ford, and I've learned that betrayal can break you, or it can shape you into someone stronger. Sometimes, love means stepping back and letting someone you care for learn the hardest lessons on their own. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which moment of this story spoke to you the most? Have you ever had to let someone you love face the consequences so they could truly grow? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with a friend who might need encouragement, and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps me bring more life stories of resilience, wisdom, and the surprising ways family can change us. Until next time, thank you for listening with love and respect.